Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 ways your aquarium fish may just suddenly die. So fish can just die because they may not be very good quality fish. They may just be sick when you first get them. Or there may be something that your aquarium has done to them that has actually killed them. So in today's video, we're going to be going over 5 things that can happen in your aquarium that can suddenly cause your aquarium fish to die. But yeah, I guess without any further ado, let's just jump straight into today's video. So as for the first thing on our list, this one's pretty obvious, and that's ammonia spikes. So ammonia is a toxic byproduct of fish waste, uneaten food, and decaying plant material. And in a well-maintained aquarium, beneficial bacteria convert the ammonia into less harmful substances. So those are things like nitrites and nitrates. Although if the biological filtration system is overwhelmed or the water quality isn't maintained, ammonia levels can spike, and ammonia in even small amounts can actually kill your fish. And it does that because it actually burns your fish's gills and it causes all sorts of damage on their internal organs. So yeah, like I said, ammonia spikes can come around when you're not doing regular water changes. So I'd recommend water changes of about once a week or bi-weekly, and that will help dilute the amount of ammonia and other substances that build up in your aquarium. It can also come about if you're overfeeding, so you should only really be feeding your fish as much as they can eat in 2 to 3 minutes, and that's going to mean that there's less of a risk of excess food being broken down and contributing to ammonia buildup. And it can also come about when there's overstocking, so if your aquarium is overstocked, there's going to be more fish waste, which is broken down into ammonia obviously. And if you aren't controlling these things, the ammonia can build up and it can just all of a sudden kill your fish. And because ammonia, you can't see it, it could even happen in like a perfectly good tank. Most of the time it's going to happen if your tank looks like a little bit cloudy or murky, but it can definitely occur in a perfectly clear, clean tank, and your fish could just die out of nowhere and you'll be shocked. So yeah, with that being said, ammonia spikes or high ammonia buildup is definitely one way your aquarium fish can just all of a sudden die. Moving on to the next on our list, it's stress. So this one sort of covers all of the topics on our list, but stress happens when there's ammonia buildups. It happens when there's changes in water parameters. It can happen if your aquarium is overstocked. But basically what stress does to your fish is it can actually compromise your fish's immune system. And when it does that, that makes your fish more susceptible to all sorts of diseases and bacterial infections. And this happens particularly in super small fish, so all sorts of small rasboras and things like that. If they do get too stressed, they can just literally die, and it can be super annoying, particularly if you spent a lot of money on some new fish. You're putting them in your new aquarium and they just die. So yeah, the best way to minimize stress in your aquarium, in my opinion, is making sure you have compatible tank mates. So you don't want any aggressive tank mates in with non-aggressive tank mates. You also want to make sure your aquarium's not overstocked. So in an overstocked aquarium, your fish can be stressed because they're not getting enough space, they may not be getting enough food, and the water quality may be diminished, which can also stress them out. And the final thing I'd recommend is putting in a lot of visual barriers or aquarium plants. So that's just going to give your fish somewhere to go and hide if they are feeling stress and sort of recover. And then they can come back out into the open water if they feel safe to do so. But yeah, with that being said, stress is another thing that can quite literally just kill your fish. Moving on to the next thing that can kill your fish on our list, it's sudden temperature changes. So sudden temperature changes are a super common killer for aquarium fish, and this happens a lot of the time when beginners, or anyone I guess, gets a new fish and is taking it home to their aquarium. If you don't actually properly acclimatize your fish and you just pour like the bag of fish water and the fish into your new aquarium without letting the bag adjust to the temperatures or the water dilute into each other, that can obviously stress your fish out and that can kill your fish. So this is super annoying, but it can actually also happen when maybe you have like a power outage and your heater turns off. If you have tropical fish in there that like heated water, they can get stressed out and die. Or maybe your power kicks back on and your heater malfunctions for some reason and turns the temperature up too high. That can also stress out your fish and kill them as well. So yeah, with that being said, sudden temperature changes are another common killer for aquarium fish. Moving on to the 4th thing on our list, it's oxygen depletion. So your aquarium fish needs oxygen dissolved in the water to breathe, and if the oxygen levels drop too low, they can suffocate. So in your aquarium, the oxygen is actually replenished by surface agitation and aeration, but if these mechanisms are lacking, oxygen depletion can actually occur, and that can kill your fish. So some of the causes for fast oxygen depletion are overstocking, poor water quality, and excessive organic matter. So obviously overstocking, there's going to be a lot of fish in that one aquarium, and they're all going to be using oxygen, and that oxygen is going to deplete super fast. And if you don't have heaps of air stones or heaps of surface agitation, then your fish will all just die because they suffocate. So excessive organic matter is things like breaking down fish food, breaking down plant leaves and things like that. And when this stuff actually decomposes, it actually uses oxygen, and that obviously reduces the amount of oxygen that's actually available to your aquarium fish to use. So some of the symptoms of low oxygen is you may actually see your aquarium fish coming up and gasping at the surface of your water, and that pretty much all the time means that there's some sort of oxygen depletion in your water, and you do need to add more surface agitation, aeration, anything you can to improve the oxygen levels in your water. And you may actually also notice your fish have clamped fins. So what clamped fins are is basically your fish fins are usually like this, and if they're clamped, then that can be another telltale sign that there's oxygen depletion in your water. But yeah, with that being said, oxygen depletion is another thing that can suddenly kill your fish. Moving on to the final reason on our list, it's improper feeding. So this again is another super common one, particularly in beginners. Not only can improper feeding mean you're overfeeding your fish, which can foul up the water and kill them that way, but it can also cause all sorts of internal damage if you aren't feeding them correctly or you aren't feeding them the correct sort of food. So all fish should technically have a sinking pellet or sinking flake, and the reason for that is because when your fish are going up to get the food, they can actually intake a little bit of air, and when they do that, they can throw up their whole balance and they can have problems swimming and things like that. So it's always best to either soak your food before you feed them, or just like sprinkle the food directly into the water and not on top of the water. Another thing that can occur is underfeeding. So I don't think this really happens too often, but underfeeding obviously just means you're not feeding your fish enough, and because they're not getting enough food, they're not able to convert that food into energy, so they'll just sort of stay still down the bottom and sort of waste away, I guess. And that's pretty easy to tell when you're underfeeding your aquarium fish. It's also relatively easy to tell when you're overfeeding your fish. So in my opinion, you just want to, like I said earlier, you want to be only feeding as much as your fish can eat in 2 to 3 minutes, and that's just the perfect amount of food to feed them. And after a while of doing that, you can sort of tell how much they're going to eat anyway, and you can adjust accordingly. But yeah, with that being said, improper feeding is another reason aquarium fish may die suddenly in your aquarium. So that is actually going to bring us to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope this video helps a few of you guys out. If you did enjoy today's video and you haven't done so already, please be sure to go down and subscribe. And while you're down there, smash the like button and comment your thoughts on today's video. I always love going down there and reading them all, and I try to reply back to as many comments as I can. If you are looking for any fish botanicals or other aquarium essentials, make sure to go check out my website, aussiefishkeeping.com. I've got all of that and more on there. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in that next video.